This is Realty Talk with Ellie and Gaelan. Welcome to episode 26 of Realty Talk with
Ellie
and Gaelan. Ellie, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ellie. Good evening. So we're back. We did one last week. Mm-hmm. Why do I feel like we've skipped a week?
We haven't. It's just been a long week.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm like off. So for some reason, it seems like last week was longer than it was. But I guess we did do 25. We had a good, actually, episode 20. No, we didn't. Wasn't that done prior to the 4th of July?
No, it wasn't. It was after. We talked about the 4th of July and how you unplugged for it.
Yeah. That was
it's just been a very long week.
I don't know why. I'm still out of it. So, okay. Topics today. We first wanted to talk about, actually, Ellie, give us an update. How's life going in the real estate world for you?
It's going pretty well. What you looking at?
Sorry, I'm just OCD
Dirt.
now. Yeah.
Dirt on the table.
Go ahead.
It's going very well. It's actually getting to a point now where time management is a problem for me, and not that I can't manage my time, but that I just every single day after work I have showings, and we're going through reporting, so it's just rushing from work to showings and just a lot going on, but it's good. You know,
my favorite part yesterday was that I was leaving Target and Ellie was walking into Target, and we chatted on the sidewalk for about 30 seconds. And I go, Ellie, she said, I think your first words were, put another under contract. And then I go, how many is that? And then Ellie stops, pulls her hand up, and starts trying to count on her fingers. And I'm like, whoa, back up.
No, hang on. That's not what happened. You asked how things were, and I said they're going pretty good. And you said, I heard you put another one under contract. How many is that? And then I had to think about it because I wasn't sure. But
that's good, though. You have to think about it. Yeah. That's a good sign when you have more than one or two hanging out.
Whopping 3 of them.
That's all right.
Yeah.
My first year, I sold 3, so you are one
halfway
away.
There.
You are one away from surpassing me. So that was great. So I just thought that was funny because that was way different than if I would have asked you 6 months ago how you were doing. So that's cool. So that's a good trajectory. So our topic today is we wanted to talk about a couple things. First off, we're going to talk about the course a little bit. I know we've talked about the real estate course, but we're going to talk about why. Hi, Jordy.
Is it just starting?
It just started. Do you want to get on it?
Gaelan was late.
Here I was, going 70 and a 55.
Well, Jordy just said she was going 70 and a 55 to get here on time, but I was late, so now we're late. You can hop on, Jordy, if you want. Or are you going to save your voice for later?
Save my voice.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So, we're going to talk about the course, not necessarily the course in general, about how I dislike the course, but actually it is going to be kind of piggybacked off that. And we're going to talk about why that does not prepare you for real estate. And then I'm also going to talk about what we need to do for continuing ed and how that does not also prepare you to be better, and how you should actually prepare to be a better realtor instead of doing what New York State tells you. I wonder if New York State's going to ever listen to this and then send me a fine or something.
I don't think
that
would
shit
be
about
legal.
Them on every podcast. I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
This isn't Korea.
We'll fight it. So, Ellie, you took the course. I took the course. I hate the course. I think it is absolute trash. I don't think it helps you one bit with real estate. It gives you some lingo. I actually get a kick out of all the agents that know everything about New York State real estate backwards and forwards. And I'm like, listen, if I need anything, I'm calling Mike at the board office. Usually I'm the one getting written up for a bunch of stuff, not because of really breaking laws.
The bad boy of real estate.
But I have I got a lot of friends that have a big magnifying glass on me at times, so that's good. So that's a good time. So I think I've actually had to have I'm turning that into a little side gig is like.
Don't you have a hater list on your email?
I do. I can't wait to pull it out in the future. I got a lot of good emails saved. But the thing is, learning the real estate course I think is total crap because I don't think you need to know 90% of what they teach on the course. Mm-hmm. Partially because most of it has to do with, it's not most of it, but there's a good chunk of it that has to do with New York City and a lot of stuff that would not apply to, where we sell. So I think geography, just because the way New York City is set up, there's a very big contrasting markets. I'm sure that's in most states, but obviously New York City is a very extreme case. So us learning about New York City law and stuff on a New York State test, I get why it's on there because it's a New York State course, but you don't need to know it. And I think you can probably vouch for this. When you took the course and you came out of the course, and funny is you really had no clue what you were doing, even though you took 75 hours of a course.
Yep.
So I don't want to. We've talked. You can go back to earlier episodes of us ripping on the course, but to tie this into continuing education is every 2 years we have to take 22 and a half hours of continuing ed. Again, you can tack that right on with the course. I think it's absolutely crap what we have to research. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure someone took time, and I'm sure there's some good stuff in there. But a lot of it is stuff that you can just find in a book about. You can go literally on Amazon, Google, or go on Amazon and look up commercial real estate for dummies or real estate for dummies, and you pretty much have the book. So the thing is, how do you actually improve in real estate? So I want to kind of quiz you, Ellie. What would be a couple ideas on how you think you could improve as an agent, meaning you'd still have to take the continuing ed to keep your course, but what would you think would be some options to become a better agent, legitimately a better agent, to always improve what you're doing?
I mean, I guess it's kind of the way I try and get better at anything in life is I talk to people who are good at it. And I think for me, the biggest thing is talking with people who've been doing it for a while, like yourself or other agents who've been doing it for a long time and who are good at what they do. Because for the most part, people are pretty willing to talk about something, especially about themselves, because they enjoy that. And I learn things, and it's usually a pretty good conversation. And I find that I've learned the most, not from classes or books, but from talking to people who live it.
Yeah, I think that's number one. Is I always talk about finding a mentor. So if you're just starting out, find a mentor, 100%. Even to this day, my mentors and people I talk to are a little bit different because I'm not necessarily talking to them about real estate per se. A lot of it has to do with running a company, hiring, leadership management from people that have either experience in it or have some type of role in management. And that's just a new challenge that I've taken on over the last probably year and a half or so, and just trying to get better at that, because that comes with my schedule every day is I wear a bunch of different hats, and obviously the real estate sales part of it is the big one, but I don't want to. I don't know how many hours in a week I deal with other stuff not related to my own sales, meaning office stuff, meaning marketing stuff, meaning training or meeting with agents about stuff. So I find a lot of it is, if you can talk to somebody 100%, what would be your second thing that you think would be a good idea? Because my mentoring ship 100% is going to get you there the quickest, is learning from people directly.
I guess it's kind of hard because I feel like everything else, there's a lot of stuff I would clump in second place, like podcasts and books and reading about biographies of successful people and watching them, just reading about, I don't know.
I think a mentorship is 100% listening and consuming information. So reading, listening to podcasts, watching stuff on YouTube. I've done a lot of that because I think
love YouTube.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of merit to that. You can find, there's some people that are very smart on there. It's kind of like those do-it-yourself people. You find you can find how to fix something in your house or make some type of table or whatever. But real estate's the same. You can go on and you can learn cool tips and hints and things like that. And I try to do that myself on my channel from what I know. But I watch other people and say, oh, that's something I never thought about or never came across. And but I also think another thing is staying active, meaning you actually, there's so many agents that get their license and they just stall because they just don't do, they do a couple deals here and there, but they're not very active and they're not really pursuing or trying to get better. So I find there's a lot of people that just kind of get stale and they just stay at a certain level and they get complacent. But I think by actively going and searching out opportunities and actively trying to meet people, my dad always told me, especially when I got into the market, that he goes, activity breeds activity, meaning just stay active, talk to people, meet people, pursue or even, pursue opportunities, but also create opportunities just by finding a, I guess I'm going to say opportunity again, but finding an opportunity either with a person or a situation and then capitalizing on it and finding a way that you maybe, I've done that before. I've had some deals where things weren't, just maybe things weren't listed or things that I heard about, or maybe a situation where I'm like, hey, I wonder if they would actually end up selling. Talk to them. Yeah, actually, we thought about it. Okay, cool. I put a deal together. And I've done that a few times where those are kind of cool because they're unexpected, but it's the idea that you're always pursuing something and I find by just being active and talking to people and meeting people and expanding my sphere of people that I see more situations and become more well-rounded.
Yeah.
So I think, and the other thing is just showing homes, going on listing appointments, writing up contracts, honestly getting rejected, like all that stuff gets you better and better and better.
Absolutely.
And I think every year, if you're constantly in a mode where you're trying to improve, you're going to improve, just through sheer will. And obviously, I think if you just have the mindset of wanting to get better, it's very tough to get worse when you're focusing on getting better. That's just something I believe, and I don't think you can really... It's very tough to get bad at something if you're putting focus into it.
It's the 1% philosophy that I think I talked with Matt Craig about this in the beginning of the year, and he was talking about people's goals for the year. If you strive to be 1% better every single day, and say you fail for half the year, you're still more than 100% better at the end of the year than you were at the start of it. And that's just trying to do one little thing better each day, and that's a very achievable goal to set for yourself.
Yeah, and I think that could even be... Talk about like calls each week. Like it might just be making an extra call or or going to... Like I said, showing up to a networking event that you wanted to blow off, or I mean, anything. You take anything that you don't want to do and you take that one extra step and do it. A lot of times that's where you create the opportunity, or just getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. I mean, I've done that a bunch too, where it's just like, honestly don't know much about it, but let me just dive in head first and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest way for me too, because I've had some things that I had a big... opportunity earlier this year that didn't pan out in my favor, which is fine because actually I don't want to go into the exact terms of it, but I think I've told you about it before, but it's just the idea that when that situation arose, was I in probably the best position for it? No, but I didn't just say no. I basically said, sure, because I'll figure it out. If there's a will, there's a way. And to be honest, if nothing else, I'll get a great learning experience from it.
Yeah.
So I'm very big on saying yes to opportunities and challenging myself. But I think that is the improvement of, I've seen way more now. But the 1% thing that you said before, I think is phenomenal because when you talk about setting goals, like when we set goals for you at the beginning of the year and you had pretty lofty goals, which I would say were bigger than 1% goals.
Yeah.
and I kind of came back down. And to be honest, you're pretty close to what I thought.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Nicole earlier today about this, that, I'm like, well, we had a goal for Ellie and she's on her way there. And I said, but the difference is you're a little bit over halfway through the year. You're about halfway to your goal. But the idea is that you're also building momentum. So you started from zero. So we talked about the snowflake analogy.
Yeah.
The fact that maybe you could end the year, between 5 and 8 deals in year one, I'm happy with that. Especially with you working a full-time job where you don't have, and it's different than working a full-time job where you have a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
You have hours. So your flexibility is very tied into certain time periods. And so I think that's the difference too, versus someone that comes on that has a flexible job that can do appointments during the day, or maybe take a full day off of that job to work real estate, and you don't have that luxury. So I think what you're doing is phenomenal. But it's the 1% is, and we talked about like, okay, so say you get your 6 deals this year, what does next year look like? Can we double to get 12, or is it realistic goal more like 9 or 10, which is not a bad thing. You're still growing. I mean, at that point, whatever that ends up being, 50%, or so I still think and it's a very achievable goal. I do think it's great to have very long-term goals, meaning kind of what I've set. Like my 10th year in real estate is next year, and I had a 10-year goal to hit, and I'm knocking on the door of that goal. But if you expected me to hit that in by my second year, there was no way in hell that was happening.
Yeah.
But I set a we talked about like what's it called? A slow climb to a distant horizon. That's how I picture all my goals, meaning it's a marathon, not a sprint. So everything that I have planned out is usually years in advance, and I just chip away at it. It's literally just like, I'm going to cut the tree down, and I'm just going to do it one, chop at a time. And I'm not going to sit there and, try to kill myself to, but that's the analogy is slow and steady kind of wins the race. And
be a turtle, not a rabbit.
Exactly. I mean, if you can be a turtle that runs the speed of a rabbit
hybrid.
a turtle with a hard shell, or a rabbit with a hard shell. But no, I think it's good. I think setting goals are good, but I think, like you said, always in the theme of the day of the podcast is keep improving. That's important. And the 1%, I think, is very manageable because it's overwhelming at times when people look at the big end goal project and it gets freaks them out a little bit. But I think if you break things down into manageable day-to-day tasks that is what I try to do, it makes a huge difference. Because I think it's one where it's like you take so many, it's like walking or whatever, and you're like, I want to walk across or swim or something. I want to swim across Lake Champlain. All of a sudden you swim, don't look back. And then eventually you're like, oh, I'm tired. And you look back and holy crap, that's quite a distance. And that's
and then you drown.
Yeah, then you drown. and so actually game over. But it's the idea that you're always, if you keep doing the little things like one more stroke or one more swim, you're going to get closer and closer to your goal. And then when you turn around and look how far you've come, it's almost overwhelming because you're like, oh, I wasn't focusing on the past.
Yeah.
I just kept focusing on the next task at hand. And that's kind of what I've been able to do, and I think you'll be very similar to that, is that you just keep plugging forward. And then when you can kind of, take a break to turn around and kind of look at where you've come from and where you started and stuff, it's very cool. Very unbelievable at times, but very cool to look back and kind of give yourself a moment to reflect and have satisfaction on it. But it's quickly followed up with turning and keep walking. So, so it's always good. It's always improve. Ellie, anything else you want to add on that topic?
No, not really.
Okay, you thought about it. So,
yeah, I did.
So we're going to start ending the week with an office quote of the week because me and Ellie are office nerds. So, Ellie, do you have an office quote of the week?
Well, from the episode, I already said it, but I guess it's kind of inappropriate. It's from the episode I just watched before I came here.
They're always inappropriate. You can go.
No, he's in Sesame Street, dumbass.
The one I'm trying to think of one I was watching the other day, and classic. When it was the episode where, I'll say the quote and then I'll tell you the episode. When he goes, yeah, last month Michael complained about a speed bump on the highway. I wonder who he hit that time. It was the one where he hit Meredith.
Yep.
And I just watched it and it was so funny. Then they did the race for the Michael Scott, Scranton, Pennsylvania, whatever, Dunder Mifflin.
5K for the 5,000 miles for the run or something like that.
Yeah, she goes, Michael, 5K is 3 miles. It's not 500,000 or 5,000 miles. And no, that was a great episode. But yeah, so Michael Scott hit a speed bump, a.k.a. person on the highway. So that's how we're going to end it. So for
Ellie
and Gaelan, that is episode 26 of Realty Talk. See you next week.